Am I the a-hole for divorcing my cheating husband, cutting off my mom, and moving on? This past year has been the hardest of my life, and I've made decisions that some people in my family are calling cruel and unforgiving. I, 35F, was married to my husband, 42M, for 8 years. We have 2 kids together, a son, 9, and a daughter, 7. I thought we had a happy, stable life, until it all came crashing down 7 months ago. It started when my son overheard an inappropriate conversation between my husband and my younger sister, 24F, during a family gathering. Confused and upset, he came to me to explain what he'd heard. At first, I thought it must be a misunderstanding, but when I confronted my husband, he denied it, became defensive, and eventually broke down and admitted that he'd been having an affair with my sister. I was devastated. It felt like my entire world had crumbled. Not only had my husband betrayed me, but so had my sister, someone I trusted deeply. But what made everything so much worse was my mom's reaction. Instead of supporting me, she defended their actions. She claimed my sister was young and didn't know better, and suggested my husband only cheated because he felt neglected. Then she had the audacity to suggest that I forgive them for the kids and keep the family together. I couldn't believe it. My own mother was excusing such a massive betrayal and urging me to stay with someone who had shattered my trust. Meanwhile, my dad, furious at the situation and my mom's response, stood firmly on my side. He called my mom out for enabling my sister and my husband, saying she was prioritizing appearances over morals. Their marriage ended as a result. He filed for divorce, citing her lack of integrity as a deal breaker. I immediately filed for divorce from my husband and cut off contact with both my mom and sister. I couldn't bear to have them in my life anymore. My focus turned to my children, who were deeply affected by the situation. My son, who had inadvertently uncovered the affair, became angry and resentful. He openly told me he didn't want anything to do with his father. My daughter, on the other hand, became quieter and started acting out in subtle ways. I knew I needed to prioritize their well-being, so I enrolled us all in therapy. As I worked through the trauma, I started rebuilding my life. I leaned on my dad and close friends for support. I also started dating again, unexpectedly falling for a woman, 36F, who has been a rock for me. She's kind, understanding, and amazing with my kids. They've grown to love her, and for the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful about the future. But the drama didn't end there. My sister's relationship with my ex-husband has completely imploded. She's now blaming my mom, saying she encouraged the affair. Meanwhile, my mom is constantly calling and texting, accusing me of tearing the family apart by refusing to forgive them. She's even called my new relationship a slap in the face to the family and says I'm being selfish for not letting her or my sister back into my life. On top of that, my ex-husband has been reaching out, begging for forgiveness. He claims the affair was a mistake and insists he misses me and the kids. But my children want nothing to do with him. My son is adamant about cutting ties, and while my daughter doesn't express it as strongly, she avoids any mention of her dad. I've tried to stay firm, but the constant guilt tripping is wearing me down. My dad and friends say I'm doing the right thing by cutting out toxic people and focusing on rebuilding my life. But my mom's accusations that I'm the one tearing the family apart have me second-guessing myself. Should I reconcile with my mom and sister for the sake of family unity? Should I allow my ex-husband more involvement in the kids' lives, even though they don't want it? I'm proud of the progress I've made, but the weight of these choices is overwhelming. Am I the a-hole for divorcing my husband, cutting off my mom and sister, and choosing to move forward with my life? Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend's family? I needed my hands amputated over their craft supply gifts. I, 25F, have been with my boyfriend, 26M, for about 3 years, and things have mostly been great. I'm really into crafting and love reusing items most people would throw away, like soda tabs or empty bottles. When my boyfriend's family learned about my hobby, they started saving random things for me. I thought it was sweet at first, and I always thanked them for thinking of me. But over time, their gifts started to feel off. My birthday is very close to my boyfriend's sister's 28th, so last year we had a joint birthday party. For gifts, they handed me a bag filled with craft supplies, like empty bottles, soda tabs, and random scraps. Meanwhile, his sister got these amazing gifts: a Pandora bracelet, an Apple Watch, and other thoughtful things. I felt embarrassed but kept smiling, thanking them for their thoughtfulness, even though it stung a little. My boyfriend noticed how upset I was and wanted to say something, but I told him to let it go. Then came Christmas. A few days before, I'd scraped my wrists at the gym and had to bandage them up. It wasn't a big deal, but my boyfriend and family were the only ones who knew. On Christmas morning, we were at his family's house exchanging gifts. Everyone else got amazing presents: brand new shoes, jewelry, iPhones, and hefty gift cards. I opened mine to find an empty soda bottle, used aluminum foil, and a handful of soda tabs. I'm all about crafting, but this was humiliating. It wasn't thoughtful. It felt dismissive. My boyfriend was livid, but held his tongue, and we decided not to make a scene. Then his family asked, all smiles, "Do you like your gifts?" I couldn't take it anymore. Smiling sweetly, I said, "Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, but unfortunately, I won't be able to use them anymore because of my accident." They looked confused, so I explained, keeping a very serious tone, that my injury was worse than it seemed and that both my hands would have to be amputated. My boyfriend nodded solemnly and said we hadn't told anyone yet because it was a sensitive and emotional situation. Their faces went pale. They were horrified. A few stammered apologies, and some even looked on the verge of tears. I just nodded, thanked them for their concern, and said, "It's okay. I'm getting used to the idea." Shortly after, we left. Here's the truth. My hands are fine. They were just scraped. But I was so hurt and angry about the way they treated me that I wanted to make a point. My boyfriend thought I was justified, especially after years of feeling like an afterthought to his family. But later, his sister texted me, furious, saying I was cruel for making a scene on Christmas and guilt-tripping the family. Word had apparently spread that my hands were fine, and now I'm starting to feel guilty. Was it petty? Absolutely. But I also feel like their gifts crossed a line. I get that crafting is a hobby, but turning every gift occasion into a joke about it, while giving thoughtful gifts to others, felt disrespectful. Still, maybe there was a better way to handle it. So, am I the a-hole?